Modern Warfare 2 makes no sense. There, I said it. Modern Warfare 2, the multiplayer especially, just makes no sense whatsoever. Fundamentally, as a video game, it's one of the most beloved titles in the long and storied history of the Call of Duty franchise, and even in gaming in general. I think to this day, it's still the best-selling title on the Xbox 360. It's iconic, it's old school, it holds up even today, but at the same time, this game made no sense when it came to multiplayer. There were so many random quirks, bugs, and issues with this game that people tend to forget about, but despite being out for over a decade, these features, as we're going to call them now, can still be found within Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, and I think a lot of people would argue that at this point, these bugs are part of the charm of Modern Warfare 2, and they're part of what gave the game so much flavor. Let's start things off here with the bulletproof plants on Favela. Why is this a thing? Nobody has any idea, but the plants on this roof will completely stop any bullets from passing through them, making players who happen to be running through here virtually invincible should the plants be covering the right parts of their body. On the other side of Favela, we of course have the barbershop, and here we can find some deadly glass. We see 4 different mirrors here, but for some reason the one on the far left will actually hurt you. If you melee it, you will take damage. If you're hurt, or if you're playing hardcore, you will die instantly should you melee this particular mirror right here, but the other 3 mirrors, you're fine. You're just perfectly cool. Just go up there, melee them, nothing will happen. It's worth mentioning that if you are at full health and if you're playing in standard game modes, then you will barely survive the onslaught of this inanimate object, but the question is, why does this one mirror for some reason damage you should you happen to run up and melee it? Now, what about the Harrier strike? This is one of the most iconic streaks in franchise history. It is so good. This gave countless people access to countless chopper gunners, AC-130s, and even tactical nukes, but the streak itself is actually horrible because it refuses to work if the enemy team stops moving. Like, take a look at this right here. If you stand completely still, the Harrier will target you and even shoot at you, but it will be completely unable to hit you. Basically, if you aren't able to shoot down the Harrier, or if you're stuck out in the open and you're not running cold-blooded, just stand still. The Harrier will be completely unable to hurt you for one reason or another. Now, speaking of things that can't hurt you, let's talk about a bugged animation that looks really cool in this game. So, it turns out, if you're using the Spaz 12, the Striker, or the M1014 with a foregrip, you can do a barrel roll with your shotgun. So basically how you do this is kind of tricky. You need to be running towards the player that you're going to shoot. You need to swap to your secondary, and then while you're swapping to your secondary, double tap Y, or whatever your pull out secondary button is, and the animation should occur. I remember I made a video on this a few years ago because it accidentally happened to me and I had no idea what caused it, and this can still be done today, which makes it a popular move amongst trick shotters. Next up, let's talk about the sights in this game. The sights in Modern Warfare 2 make no sense whatsoever. Like, you may be thinking, I'll just put on a red dot sight, I'll put on a holographic, simple as that, but it was never as simple as that. On the M16 and FAL assault rifles, adding the holographic sight gives both of these guns infinite range. This means there's no range drop-off whatsoever if your target is super far away, which means that either of these guns with the holographic sight will kill with the same amount of bullets 2 inches away as they will 2,000 miles away, as long as the bugged holographic sight is equipped. Another fun fact is that the foregrip and the FMJ attachments on the Spaz 12 do nothing. They do absolutely nothing at all. They are a complete waste of your attachment. You may be thinking I'm being hyperbolic here, but no, they don't actually do anything. The foregrip does not reduce recoil or anything like that, and the FMJ attachment on the Spaz 12 does not give you more wall penetration. They both do virtually nothing. Now, speaking of wasted attachments, let's talk about the suppressor. This is one of the most iconic and popular attachments in franchise history. Like, imagine a Call of Duty game without a suppressor, but better yet, imagine a Call of Duty where the suppressor doesn't do what it says it's going to do. On the MG4 light machine gun, the M240 light machine gun, and the M9 pistol, the suppressor in this game simply doesn't work. It will reduce your range, and it will remove muzzle flash, sure, but but you're still going to show up on the minimap when you fire, which I suppose the entire point of a suppressor for most people is to hide you from the minimap when you're firing. Well, on those 3 guns, the suppressor just simply doesn't work. Some other attachments were bugged in Modern Warfare 2 as well. The red dot sight on the FAL, for example, is misaligned. It doesn't actually represent where the bullet is going to go when you fire, and the same is true of a couple of other weapons in this game's multiplayer as well. Now, of course, we can't talk about bugged attachments without talking about the USB-45 akimbo pistols, which for those of you who played Modern Warfare 2 back in the day, you know that these were actually the best weapons in the game for knifing. Because for some reason, when you run akimbo USB-45s, you knife faster than you would knife if you had the tactical knife attachment. Now, the drawback is the animation of pulling the knife out of the enemy player is going to take a little bit longer than normal, but in general, if you want to have faster knifing, and if you want to be as good at knifing in Modern Warfare 2 as humanly possible, the tactical knife attachment is not actually the move. The proper way to play is with the akimbo USB-45 pistols and taking advantage of the bugged knife animation. Now, I could go on with more random fun facts and quirks about Modern Warfare 2. This game has so many of them, but like I mentioned towards the top of the video, I think this is what gave the game so much flavor. Learning about this stuff, especially back then when YouTube and Call of Duty on YouTube and online in general weren't as big, it was fun. It was fun knowing that things like USB-45 pistols were better for knifing. It was fun knowing that if I put the holographic sight as compared to the red dot sight on my M16, that I had infinite range, and therefore the M16 was a little bit better because it needed all the help it could get because it was outshined by the FAMAS in virtually every respect as a burst rifle. It was fun learning these random little quirks like the extended mag on the P90, making it so you could sprint for 8 seconds as compared to 5 seconds. It added so much flavor to the game. Obviously today these would be problems that we would love to see fixed in current day Call of Duty titles, but the reason why this stuff happened so much back in the infantile stages of the Call of Duty franchise, like right as it was blowing up, was because of Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward had that big falling out with Activision, where Infinity Ward's founders had a dispute with Activision over the rights to the Call of Duty franchise itself, and as a result, they left, and most of the original Infinity Ward staff left the studio to form Respawn Entertainment, which of course is responsible for Titanfall, Titanfall 2, as well as Apex Legends. I have to wonder, what would Modern Warfare 2 be like today should Activision and the original Infinity Ward staff never had their falling out back in 2010? Like, straight up halfway through this game's life cycle, all of Infinity Ward pretty much just left, and then the game stopped getting post-launch support. I have to wonder, what would the game be like should the staff actually had been there? What would they have done, right? Because they released map packs that were already previously finished, but what else would they have changed? Would they have rebalanced the game? Would they have added new weapons? Would they have changed up some of these quirks that give Modern Warfare 2 so much flavor? And would Modern Warfare 2 be as remembered as it is today should those changes have ever taken effect? That's definitely a very interesting question, because regardless of how many aspects of Modern Warfare 2 make no sense whatsoever, it's still one of the most fun, the most nostalgic, and the most remembered Call of Duty titles ever made, and here's to hoping that it gets remastered, quirks and all, at some point in the relatively near future. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.